All right, good morning. Thank you for being here. Today we're here to talk about AI and agents in Slack. I'm super excited to be here to welcome all of you in the room, as well as our friends joining on Salesforce Plus. So first of all, I want to thank you both for being here at Dreamforce, as well as here at this breakout session. We know there's a lot going on. We know there's a lot of noise about AI. But we're really excited to talk to you about how we help you with productivity with AI in Slack. So just so you know who you're hearing from, my name is James. I'm a VP of Product. I work on AI and search at Slack. You'll hear from Soham, who's on my team, and then you'll also hear from Kurt, who's the CIO and CISO at Expedia. Expedia is not only a great customer of Slack, but really an innovator in how they use AI in their enterprise. So really excited to have Kurt here with us today for some Q&A. Before I get into all of the powerful features that we're announcing this week at Dreamforce, I want to start by talking about the problem we're solving and set the stage for why we built these features in the first place. So we think that work is broken and it's affecting our productivity. So desk workers report that they're spending nearly 20% of their week simply searching for information, and almost half of them aren't able to find the information they need to do their jobs successfully. So this is really because there's more tools and disconnected services than ever before. The typical knowledge worker is context switching between 11 tools in any given day. So we really face this paradox where we have all this powerful technology at our fingertips, but it's a lot to parse and it's a lot to get through. That might not sound like a huge deal, but what we see is that productivity losses at an individual or a team level translate to negative outcomes at a business and a company level. So if you're a customer support agent and you're responding to a question that a customer has written in, and you have to context switch across 4 different tools to get that answer, that leads to longer response times, a worse customer experience, and over time, your customer satisfaction dropping. So a lot of different examples we see from customers in this space. So it's not surprising that 96% of executives know that integrating AI to help employee productivity is urgent. The problem is there are challenges around data security and privacy, as well as the accuracy and quality of AI that execs are rightly concerned about. So that's where Slack comes in. You may have seen this at the keynote yesterday, but we've been hard at work evolving Slack into a work operating system where work gets done. So yes, there are over 700 million messages a day that are sent in Slack, but Slack is so much more than messaging. We have structured data and collaboration happening around Salesforce records happening, as well as over 3,000 apps and tools that customers use to bring the tools that are important to them in their flow of work. The thing that's really special about the time right now is AI. So we've been moving in this direction for some time, but AI is really accelerating that shift because it provides connective tissue where someone can get the answer they need faster and more efficiently than ever. So what does that mean? What are we actually building in Slack? So if you think of our AI strategy in Slack, there are really 3 buckets that are very important. The first one is Slack AI, which is our native generative AI product that's embedded in your flow of work. The second is third-party AI agents. So think of these like digital assistants that help you get tasks and take action on your behalf. And then the third is Agentforce, which you've heard a lot about this week. Agentforce are Salesforce-centric agents that bring the best of the data that lives in your CRM with the customer-centric conversation that's already happening in Slack. So before I get to all the great features in each of those buckets, I just want to touch on how AI in Slack works. So on the left side, you'll see sort of our guiding principles for how we've built Slack AI. And on the right side, you'll see the architecture, which is actually what we've built. So on the principles, first and foremost, AI in Slack is safety first. Within our unified metadata framework, your data does not leave Slack, and we do not train our LLMs on your data. So this is really important, and you'll see it influences everything we do. The second one is that AI in Slack is action-oriented. So what that means is it's great when AI can come back to you and spit back information or facts, but it's even better when AI can take action on your behalf and help you get your job done more efficiently. Last one here is that it's in context. So our AI does not operate in a vacuum. It's grounded in the context of what's happening in Slack. So now that we've touched on some of the principles, I want to cut to how it actually works. It's pretty simple. It starts with a query in our interface. So natural language is becoming the way people interact with AI. Slack is conversational language. There's no better place for users to learn this without training. So what happens is when the user asks a question, we use retrieval augmented generation, which basically means we're passing context about the user in Slack as well as their business. And so it's a classic garbage in, garbage out problem where if you feed the LLM no context in a query, you're probably not going to get a highly accurate answer. So we pass relevant context about your Slack workspace such that the answer you get back is really grounded in your knowledge corpus and the tone of your business. So once we feed that prompt to the LLM, the LLM executes the prompt, generates a response, and then that gets passed back to the Slack interface. Important to call out, this all happens within a Salesforce and Slack trust layer, which is a unified metadata framework where we use industry-leading security practices to mask your data and protect what's most sensitive to you. So let's get to the fun stuff. What actually are the features in these buckets? So I will start with Slack AI, which again is our native product where we embed generative AI into the Slack product. So we started rolling this out back in February, and we're seeing pretty incredible productivity gains from our customers. So the typical user who is in our AI pilots with customers is saving almost 97 minutes a week. And that might not sound like a lot, but if you add that up over months and years and many employees across your business, it's truly game-changing. So we started with these first three features, which are search answers, conversation summaries, and recaps. So search answers help you search Slack and get to an information faster. So maybe everyone in my company is talking about a new codename project called Project Nexus. I don't know what Project Nexus is. I can go to Slack search, and with Slack AI, it'll come back with an intelligent answer about what that project is, along with citations to relevant artifacts that help me learn more if I choose to do so. Second one is conversation summaries. So who here has ever had that Monday morning problem where you open your laptop and there's a thread that has 20 replies? Does that sound familiar to people? Yep. Conversation summaries helps you with a click of a button get a summary of what's happening in that thread so that you can take action without scanning through a ton of messages. I have a ton of coworkers on the East Coast and I live on the West Coast, so this one has been a game changer for me with those noisy Monday morning threads. Last one is recap. So you probably have a set of channels that are really important to you, but you don't have time to scan through every message every day. With recaps, you can choose the channels that are important for you to follow along with, and every morning you'll get a smart summary of what's happened in that channel in the last day. We're also announcing some really exciting features this week that are pushing into Assistance. So Assistance is more about helping you take action, helping you automate tasks. So Huddles Notes is one we're announcing. Huddles are sort of spontaneous video calls that help you collaborate quickly. We're going to be introducing AI transcripts that transcribe the conversation that's happening in the meeting and auto-generate a canvas that's populated in the channel or DM where the huddle happened. Second one is AI Workflow Builder. We have people using over 3 million workflows every day in Slack, sometimes for very routine tasks, like maybe I need to collect a meeting agenda every week, a day before an important meeting that happens, but sometimes for really complex business process. So a lot of our customers will triage customer support tickets through Slack. Workflows are very powerful, but they can be hard to create. That's changing with AI. So we're announcing AI Workflow Builder, which allows you to type a sentence and generate a workflow. So it's pretty game-changing and helping anyone automate work in Slack. Last one is our channel summary step in Workflow Builder. So you saw on the last slide, there's a lot of powerful recap and summarization features, but sometimes our customers want to customize that. Maybe there's 10 channels that executives are really laser focused on and they want to know what's happening. You can now build a workflow that summarizes what's happening in those channels, posts it to a canvas, and delivers it to an exec channel every week. So it's taking the best of AI with the best of our workflow platform so that you can customize how you automate work in Slack. Second bucket I mentioned is Agentforce. So Agentforce is really about bringing the best of your data that lives in the CRM with the customer-centric conversations happening in Slack, bringing you intelligent responses to cut through the noise. So maybe you're an account executive and you have a new prospect, Omega. You can go to the Agentforce assistant and ask, where is this deal at in the cycle? What is the CIO concerned about? What do they want to hear more about from us on a security basis? Agentforce will come back with an intelligent response that, again, marries conversation happening in Slack with the structured data that lives in your Salesforce CRM. It's also going to be able to do more advanced things. So maybe you want to draft an email directly to the exec team at Omega on next steps for pushing this account forward. Agentforce Assistant will be able to do that on your behalf. Maybe you have a big deal pitch. It's your final deal pitch next week, and you want to practice. You can go to the Agentforce Assistant, facilitate a role play, and it will give you personalized feedback on how to improve your pitch for the big day. We've heard that our customers are super excited about Agentforce and bringing the best of Salesforce into Slack, but they also use a wealth of tools, right? We talked about the problem of context switching across all these tools. We're going to be bringing AI agents from third parties into Slack. So we're really excited. We're announcing this week some big partners like Cohere, Perplexity, and Adobe that are generally available this week on all paid plans. So in this example, one of the things we hear is maybe you're a marketing team and you spin up Slack channels to collaborate around marketing campaigns. Rather than having to context switch out of Slack and lose the conversation that's happening with your product marketer, your demand gen person, your PR person, it can all happen in Slack, both in your flow of work, but also grounded in the conversation that's happening. So you don't need to summarize it or reword it in a tool externally. It's all happening within Slack directly. So how this works, there's really three key things. Again, conversational UI is really important. We're seeing this emerge as the dominant trend for how people interact with AI. Slack is conversational UI, so it's very natural. We're seeing that users really know and understand how to interact with these AI agents without needing training. Second are developer-built prompts. So we have an API that allows people, partners, customers to specify what they want in their AI agent, and it'll show up directly in Slack. Lastly, we talked about that principle around security first. So we've designed this in a really safe way that prevents copying data to partner servers, as well as any model training on customer data. So again, even though these are third-party agents, keeping the customer data safe is really important to us. So I know that's a lot, but really the direction we're moving in is we see the future of work happening in Slack in one place with all of your tools thoughtfully connected by AI. And what we'll be doing is layering agents into the experience to help you get tasks done more effectively. Really important to talk about the business impact. I'll leave you on this. We're seeing incredible impact from our customers. My favorite, not just because Kurt is in the audience, my favorite is Expedia Group. They have been pioneers of Slack AI. They're seeing 165 minutes saved per user each week. So it is really game-changing for how our customers are saving time and improving productivity. I want you all to be able to check this out and see a little bit more beyond what I've shared here. So we're going to do a live demo with Soham, who's going to hop on stage. Come on up, Soham.
All right.
There you go.
All right, good to see you, James. All right, hey everybody. Excited to go through this live demo with you all. I'm going to talk about three things today. So the first is summarization, the second is search, and then the last is some of our agents and automation. All right, so I'm going to start off with some of our summarization capabilities, starting with a feature called Recap, which we love. So you could think of Recap as a daily digest of your Slack channel. So every day at 7 a.m., Slack will send you a curated recap which summarizes the messages that you missed over the past few days in the channels that you select. So what's really neat about Recap is when you get all the way to the bottom, you get a little bit of confetti, which is very important as a celebration state. But what's amazing is by reading the summaries, what you're doing is you're basically catching up across, in this case, almost 400 messages and saving all of this time. And so Recap is one of our most loved features with customers. It really changes the way that they use Slack, and it really allows them to get a good understanding of what's happening across channels. Now, one other quick thing I want to show about Recap is as you get through this, you'll find topics of interest. So for example, I noticed that there was a huddle that I missed. So I'm going to tap in here. It drops me directly in this huddle thread. So it's a 15-minute huddle. And I'm going to go here. And because I missed this huddle, I'm now caught up once I read this summary. So Slack AI also provides a summary, which is great. So I know who was part of the huddle, I know the main highlights, and the most important part, I know the action items, and all of these people here are tagged in line so they get notified after the huddle is over, so you know what to do. Then once you're done, you knock these off and you're good to go. So that is our summarization capability in a nutshell. This has really given users time back in their day to really stay on top of Slack. Next, we have some of our search capabilities. So I'm going to ask a natural language question, which is, what is the Slack AI roadmap? And what's going to happen behind the scenes is what we're doing is we are sifting through all the messages that you have access to. And previously, you'd have to read each of these. You'd have to ask a colleague, who's in charge of Slack AI and get the roadmap from them. But lo and behold, we have the response here, which is amazing. So you now have the roadmap information. So let's fact check this. We have search, summarization, other productivity features, which is amazing. And as you can see here, we're not just looking at messages in Slack, but we're also looking at files that have been shared. So what's really neat is we have the citation here to this PowerPoint presentation, which is great. So by using natural language, you're now getting a natural language response in Slack, and this changes fundamentally the way you search in Slack, going through messages and files and apps and all that great stuff. So you saw summarization, you saw search. I want to wrap up with some automation. So not only can you as a user use some of these features, you can also create workflows of your own. So for example, if I went over here, I could create a workflow in natural language. So previously what you'd have to do is you'd have to learn about Workflow Builder, see how it works, but I'm gonna tap this, summarize the channel, and then post a summary about that once a week. And what's happening behind the scenes is we're taking this natural language again, and we're converting it into a set of workflow steps. So this is gonna completely change the way you use workflows. Check this out. Starts at 1 p.m. I can obviously tweak this, summarize the channel. Now, what does that look like from somebody who's actually deployed the workflow? Well, what it looks like is, if I go to this channel, which is filled with all of this feedback, I get this nicely populated in a canvas, and here the core feedback area. So this is great for sales, service, technology, product. You now have these themes which are so important to understand, what the core feedback that you're getting from your customers is using the power of Slack AI. Okay, now the last thing I want to show you all, because we're doing this accelerated demo today, is third-party agents. So if you see this up here, specifically we'll start with Salesforce Agentforce. I'm sure you've heard of agents a ton, so this is Agentforce. What you can do now is you can use Salesforce within Slack, which is incredible. So if I said, show me my accounts, what's happening behind the scenes is without having to log into Salesforce Lightning and navigate that space, I can just, again, in natural language, ask about information in Salesforce while I'm in Slack. And what's really neat about this container, this flexible container on the side, so I can navigate to other channels and do things. And behind the scenes, what will happen is it'll be actually picking up some of this information. So we've been demoing Einstein a lot, so it's a little slow today, but as you can see, all of these accounts have now been shared here, and I can do more. I can draft emails, I can get contextual information from Slack and from Salesforce, and now you're able to do all of this within Slack. Now, not only do we allow Salesforce, Agentforce inside Slack, we also have third-party agents as well. So you also have Adobe, Box, and a bunch of other apps that, again, you could use in your flow of work without having to context switch. So that's your quick 5-minute demo. Of course, we will have more time later on to do a deeper dive, but hopefully this was helpful. We're really excited about all of this stuff. So with that, I want to introduce a very special guest to the stage. Kurt over here is the Chief Security Officer and CIO of the Expedia Group. Kurt, it is an honor to have you up here. See you.
Good. I'm gonna grab a seat. Yes. Can you guys hear me okay?
Great. All right.
Your chair too.
Sure. All right, so Kurt, could you start off sharing a little bit more about what you do at Expedia Group? Would love to hear about some of your top priorities.
Yeah, sure. So a little bit of a CIO, CISO situation. So if you think cloud, data centers, platform engineering, reliability, quality, and security, including physical security, privacy. So it's a broad remit. I think of it usually as sort of the foundational elements on top of which the platform, or external-facing apps in particular are built. Priorities across those, man, it's a lot. But if I had to think, right, we're heavily focused on reliability, we're heavily focused on cloud optimization, and we're heavily focused on employee productivity. So we're spending a lot of cycles, both in employee productivity as a whole, but also developer productivity as well.
That's amazing. Thanks for that rundown. I know now to talk about what we're all here for, which is AI.
Yep.
I know that you all are happy Slack AI customers and users. I'd love to hear about how you're thinking about AI inside your company, across
Yeah.
your platform, as well
Yeah.
as externally with travelers through
Yeah.
Expedia.
You know, I remember when I was joining Expedia, I thought it would be, and in a sense, I guess it is, I thought it would be a pretty straightforward gig. What I didn't realize is just how interestingly complex Expedia is in connecting our travelers and partners with supply, and of course, vice versa. When ChatGPT launched, Expedia was one of the first to do sort of this bi-directional connectedness with ChatGPT. So you could go on ChatGPT and book a flight in Expedia. You could come to Expedia and leverage a ChatGPT to book a flight. So we lean heavily into AI ML across the board. So when I think about AI, I think of it in two, possibly three different ways. It's how do we serve up goodness to our travelers and partners. So earlier this year, for example, we launched Romy, which is an AI-assisted chatbot that helps folks book flights and so on. Personalization. So when you log into Expedia.com, how do we make sure that you feel as though it's hyper personalized to you and you have a wonderful experience. So that's sort of like the up and out, if I can call it that. The second goes back to employee productivity. Right, so a combination of, Slack, for example, I'll get into that in a bit, of how heavily we do use Slack, as these tools that help employee productivity launch these AI features. We're really focused on how do we make sure we can maximize the value from that and get back time so that employees can work on more interestingly complex problems. So those are the primary two ways we use it.
Amazing.
Awesome. Kurt, you mentioned that you all use Slack AI to help improve employee productivity. In fact, you all were an early pilot customer of Slack AI. Can you tell us more about your experience with it and what you've learned so far?
Well, and this story keeps getting worse every time I tell it. I think it's the third story, and it's going to change again. So I didn't have a choice in whether or not we purchased Slack AI because a couple of developers kidnapped me for 3 days and basically told me if we don't get it, that I'll never see my family again. I think that was the best one yet, right?
That happens sometimes.
But seriously, I was walking down the hallway and like multiple people would be like, "When is Slack AI coming back?" And I think it had a really good, amazing impact. I mean, we had an LT offsite a few weeks back, and this before we closed the deal, and even the chiefs of staff and the LT that were in there, like, when Slack AI coming back? So it was surprising how much of a big hit it was. So you have the number up there, over 2.5 hours per employee per week saved, and that's predominantly through like the search feature. Right, bringing up the most relevant information at the right time for folks. And so that was huge. And then, I mean, some of it I can't share, so I won't. But I got an early preview on some of the things that are coming, and it's actually going to be pretty darn cool what this is going to do. So we're heavy users of Slack most of the time, I would say, outside of like actual coding, in terms of a communication platform is used in Slack. We have a ton of integrations, a ton of workflows that we've built, custom workflows, custom bots. And so we rely on it heavily. Even, I mentioned I'm in charge of reliability. That is anchored on Slack. Like, we have a reliability bot, right, which helps coordinate responses when incidents happen. So just across the board, various critical workflows, Slack is the anchor for that. So to have this launch and what I see coming, I think there is a huge potential to boost that number way up, apart from just the 2.5 hours, which is great. And so we're pretty excited about it. And then also some of the features I think is going to democratize the value, because right now a lot of it is sent. You need a Slack admin to go do like a workflow or something, but democratizing access to those kind of valuable features and workflows or whatever it is, I think is also going to be a game changer.
Awesome. Well, we'd love to hear employees really excited about Slack AI. That is near and dear to our hearts.
Yeah.
But can you talk to us a little bit more about other AI tools you're thinking about using at Expedia Group to improve employee productivity?
Yeah, so we're running a pilot now, for example, on Microsoft 365 Copilot. We're thinking about ServiceNow. So the way we're thinking about it is, what are the primary journeys for the folks, right? Whether it's an executive, accounting, the general employee, and obviously money is not limited. So the question then is, based on those primary workflows, and like, where would the best return on investment look like? And from what we can see, most of them are implementing AI. We have your standard productivity tool set in terms of employee productivity. So we're in the process of doing evaluations now to see which ones would give us the best return on investment. Obviously, it's probably the ones that are have the broadest reach, kind of like Slack. And so over the next few months and into next year, we're going to be looking at those.
That's amazing. Kurt, I have a fun question for you.
Okay.
If you're in the brainstorming mood.
Let's do it.
If you had to dream up an AI-powered app that would improve employee collaboration and productivity, what would it be?
Universal search for me is like top of the list. And when I say universal search, I don't mean like the finite universe. Give me the exaverse. So if I'm in Slack, I can search through OneDrive, I can search through Jira, Confluence, SharePoint. Like, I just want one spot. The less I have to context switch, the better. So universal search, I think, would be cool. But if it's a fun question, I would also say, what if there was a cool little AI app that looked at either what you're working on, a combination of your personality and things you like to do, and randomly matches you with a couple of coworkers a week, right, to connect, regardless of which org they're in. I think that would be fun as well. It's always good to connect with people and learn new things about new people. So
amazing. James and I are taking notes. That's something that we're going to be working on. Let's do it.
the random connect?
Sure, all of the above.
Right,
anything to make you guys happy.
All right, good.
Awesome. Well, we'll close it out with one last, even more fun question, Kurt. So, people love emojis in Slack.
Yes.
What is your favorite Slack emoji?
I have two, now that I'm thinking about it, one of which I think we have a picture of. And the person who sees this picture the most is probably my EA. Because whenever there's like a meeting request, like, she can tell whether or not I want to take the meeting based on whether or not I send this emoji. So if we can pull it up, that would be awesome.
I'm trying to pull it up. Let's see. I know.
And then while he's pulling it up, the other one is like a not again face.
Oh, there you go.
There it is.
That is my favorite emoji on this planet. She sees
I'm going to steal that.
I know. She sees it
great.
at least 3 times a week whenever a meeting request comes in. So.
Oh, man.
That's it.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much,
you.
Kurt,
This is
for
fun.
taking
No,
all of these questions. We
Yeah.
really appreciate you being
Absolutely.
here.